Kundam checked his watch, 1 a.m. The city was quiet, almost too quiet, as if it was holding its breath. Another quiet night in Bangkok. The streets were empty, and the neon lights flickered in the distance. He was tired, but he had bills to pay. The weight of responsibility kept him going, even at this late hour. His phone buzzed. A ride request. The screen lit up, casting an eerie glow in the dark car. It was a woman. Her name was displayed as May. He hesitated for a moment before accepting. The pickup point was just a few blocks away. He accepted the ride. The streets seemed to grow darker as he approached. He arrived at the pickup point. The area was deserted, adding to the eerie atmosphere. A woman stood alone under a flickering streetlight. The light cast long, unsettling shadows. Her long black hair cascaded down her back. It swayed slightly in the night breeze. She wore a white dress that seemed to glow in the darkness. It was almost otherworldly. Kundam felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't shake the feeling of unease. He couldn't explain it, but something about her seemed off. It was as if she didn't belong to this world. She got into the car. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was soft, almost ethereal. Her voice was barely audible. It sent shivers down his spine. Kundam tried to make small talk. He asked her where she was headed. She just stared straight ahead. Her eyes were vacant, almost lifeless. He felt a growing unease. The silence in the car was deafening. He decided to turn on his dashcam, just in case. Something told him he might need it. "Where to?" Kundam asked, his voice strained. The woman spoke softly, almost a whisper. She gave him an address, her voice barely audible over the hum of the engine. It was an old apartment building. The name sounded familiar, but he couldn't place it. It gnawed at him. Kundam drove in silence, the tension in the car palpable. He glanced at his passenger in the rearview mirror. Her face was pale, almost ghostly. Her eyes were fixated on something outside the window, a haunted look in them. He tried to focus on the road, but his mind kept wandering back to her, but the silence was unnerving, almost suffocating. They arrived at the apartment building, its presence looming over them. It was a towering structure, casting long shadows. It looked ancient and neglected. The paint was peeling, revealing layers of decay. Shadows seemed to cling to its walls, adding to the eerie atmosphere. Kundam felt a shiver run down his spine. This place had a heavy feeling, almost oppressive. He couldn't shake off the sense of dread that enveloped him. The woman got out of the car, her movements deliberate and cautious. She didn't say a word, her silence blending with the night. She just walked towards the building, its shadow looming ominously. Kundam watched her disappear into the darkness, his eyes straining to follow her. He wanted to leave, but something held him back, a sense of foreboding. Suddenly the lights in the building flickered and died, casting eerie shadows. The street plunged into darkness, swallowing all light. Kundam's heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in the silence. He heard a soft whisper coming from the building, barely audible. It was faint, but chilling, sending shivers down his spine. He sat frozen in his seat. The whisper grew louder, more insistent. It seemed to be calling his name, a haunting echo in the night. He broke free from his trance and started his car, hands trembling. He sped away from the building, tires screeching on the pavement. The whispers echoed in his ears long after he left, a reminder of the night's terror. Kundam couldn't shake off the experience. He kept replaying the events in his mind, over and over again. The woman, the apartment, the whispers, they haunted him. He decided to share his story. He went to a local burger joint, hoping to find some peace. It was a place where drivers gathered, a sanctuary of sorts. He saw a familiar face. It was Somchai, a fellow driver and friend. Somchai listened intently. He nodded in understanding, his eyes reflecting concern. He had a story of his own, one that was equally unsettling. A story about a mysterious passenger, one that left him shaken. A story that chilled Kundam to the bone. They talked for hours, sharing their experiences and fears. Finding solace in each other's company, they felt a bit lighter. The darkness seemed less daunting, less oppressive. The fear, a little less sharp, began to fade. They knew they weren't alone in their struggles.